Good morning, DHS. Welcome to our inaugural Chief Procurement Officer Symposium, where we're going to focus on our people, our partners, and our mission. I'm Donna Jenkins, the Executive Director of the Acquisition Workforce and System Support Division, and I have the honor of introducing the host of this event, who is none other than our Chief Procurement Officer, Soraya Correa. As our CPO, Ms. Correa is responsible for directly supporting you, the 14,000 acquisition workforce members, and 10 heads of contracting activities in support of the DHS mission. As you probably know, Soraya Correa is a lifelong learner and constantly supporting the workforce by offering programs and training opportunities such as this inaugural event. Ms. Correa's career in public service spans more than 30 years. In that time, she's held a variety of positions and has been the recipient of more awards and accolades than I can list. The most notable, however, is her recognition in earning the 2018 Presidential Rank Award of Distinguished Service. This is the highest honor available to a career civil servant. It is my honor and fortune to work under Soraya's leadership, and I can honestly tell you that it is a privilege to introduce her now. Soraya, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Donna, and thank you so very much for that lovely introduction and for not pointing out that it's actually 39 years of service. I was very young when I started, but I thank you for that. And it's an honor and a privilege to work with you. First of all, let me welcome everyone. I'm very excited about this event. When COVID-19 came along to disrupt our lives, we had already been planning on this event, and it was going to be a combination virtual and in-person conference. And I asked our team to pivot and turn this into a virtual conference because I think providing this opportunity for us to share our knowledge, our information, and learn from one another is extremely important. And so I have to express my gratitude to our team, starting with Donna, who headed up this effort, the members of her staff, but in my entire leadership team. A lot of them you're going to hear from in the next couple of days. I want to thank the heads of contracting who have also participated greatly in this event, all of our panelists who are doing a great job, and of course everyone who helps put together this event in the background, from writing materials to running the webcams to helping us orchestrate the Adobe Connect session. And I would be remiss if I also didn't thank my Deputy Chief Procurement Officer, Paul Courtney, who is also joining us today. So Paul, thank you again for your outstanding support and assistance in getting this going. Appropriately, our theme for the next couple of days is our people, our partners, our mission. All of you who know me and know me well know that I value the work that each of you do every single day, and that my first priority is always our acquisition workforce. That's what I lose sleep over, making sure that we're providing the right resources, the right tools to support our acquisition workforce, because what you do matters. What you do is extremely important, and it is a vital part of ensuring that we can deliver on this critical mission that we serve, and that is protecting the homeland. So I want to first start by telling you that I thank you. I thank you for everything that you do every single day. I thank you for how well you've adapted in our new environment, what I think is soon to become our new normal. We're on day 62, by the way. I was like pointing that out. I'm counting down. But I do want to thank you for everything that you do. And I want you to enjoy this conference, to take this time to think about, to be introspective and think about your career, where you are, and what you want to learn. As you listen to our panelists, I think you're going to find them extremely engaging, very, very organized in their thoughts, and thinking of you. All of our panelists have committed to providing you over the next 2 days a lot of great information and learning. But enough about that. I have the great honor and privilege of introducing our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker is Dr. Michael Wooten. He is the administrator of the Office of Federal Procurement Policy. But he's a little bit much more than that, and I want to talk a little bit about his background and his career as I introduce him. In addition to being our administrator for the Office of Federal Procurement Policy, he is a 20-year veteran of the United States Marine Corps. He retired in 2003 at the rank of major, and since retiring has held a variety of academic and executive positions in government, as well as in state and local government, actually, because he also worked for D.C. government. Dr. Wooten holds a doctorate in higher education management from the University of Pennsylvania. He also holds a Master of Science in Contract Management from Naval Postgraduate School, master's degree from George Washington University and Norwich University, and a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from Chapman University. For those of us that have been in this profession for a while, we know that that psychology degree is extremely important in our business. Dr. Wooten shares my passion for the acquisition workforce. He believes in developing the workforce, and one of his initiatives of change is called Tools, Schools, Rules, and Talent Pools. His focus on innovation, cost efficiency, cybersecurity protection, small business partnerships, and category management are well aligned with our initiatives here at the Department of Homeland Security. Recently, I participated in a conference he held with several senior procurement executives to talk about his vision of the Acquisition Workforce 2025, which focuses on the use of artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, and other tools to reduce the mundane tasks and allow for the procurement professionals to really focus on the job that they have to do, which is negotiating and writing those vital contracts and ensuring that we provide the best possible resources for the missions that we serve. Dr. Wooten has touted our work in innovation, led by our very own Procurement Innovation Lab, and you'll hear a little bit about his views on automation and other things. He's a huge advocate of how agencies collect and use data to make better decisions. In short, he is a strong advocate of the procurement community. He understands and believes in the mission and the work that we do. I personally am very grateful for his leadership and his support. I thank him for his service. And Dr. Wooten, I turn the floor over to you, sir. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that very generous and kind introduction, and I appreciate what I know is a warm welcome. I can feel it virtually, and I'm so extremely delighted to be here. So, Soraya, let me begin by thanking you for the opportunity to address your team as the keynote speaker. That is really a profound honor. A few years ago, I could have never imagined the opportunity to do that. Many of the people in this room to whom I'm making my remarks were legends from where I sat. So being welcomed to the fold is just an extremely high honor and a high mark in my career. So I'm grateful for this occasion. On this occasion, I get to witness your team at Homeland Security. I got to see your birth as a department, and I've come to know you as the champions of peace. You carry out business as usual in unusual circumstances, and I admire that. I'm grateful for the chance to speak to members of the acquisition community within one of our nation's largest departments. I'm grateful for the prospect of influencing even greater innovation from one of the most innovative teams I've ever known. And lastly, I'm grateful for not having to follow Soraya in giving a speech. I've had the great pleasure of witnessing her behind the lectern, and it is definitely something to behold. Let me also share my appreciation for the great work you've done in the context of the work of OFPP. Within weeks of becoming an administrator, I began to form a stump speech of sorts. I began the work of telling OFPP's story because, sadly, many in the 1102 community do not know what OFPP does. In case you're one of those, OFPP is the Office of Federal Procurement Policy. And I must confess, to some degree, you might have been able to call me one of those at the beginning of my career. The name OFPP alone, or the name Office of Federal Procurement Policy alone, only gives a hint of what we do. I began to explain to many that we develop the rules, the tools, the schools, and the talent pools that power the world's largest buying organization. We spend more money than many of the nations on this planet. And typically in my stump speech, I would talk about the various rules, the sundry tools, and a handful of schools. And typically, I would mention the pill as one of those schools. And although the pill is not a schoolhouse in the traditional sense, the pill is an exemplar of the way we should educate and develop the workforce for the future. The virtue of the pill is that it focuses on the particular agency's real acquisition problems and the learning that takes place within the team or some part of that team. Now, other agencies are following your lead. For instance, the IRS has a learning lab, and I'm sure there are others that I've missed, but they're following your lead. And with you all present, I'd like to thank you for that. During this time, you all have been on top of your game. Your response to the challenging situation has been on point and rapid, and I wanted to offer my congratulations for that. Thank you for your leadership in getting the nation what it needs. Thank you for your leadership in outlining the way forward for the rest of the acquisition community. Again, congratulations on a rapid response to a challenging situation. You've done what you typically do, and that's to be the best of innovators. And I know that many of us have had to adjust, but I appreciate DHS's leadership in making adjustments. Many of us have had to adjust, for instance, by adopting and embracing telework. In fact, I believe a telework explosion has come out of the COVID quarantine. I recall a few weeks ago serving as a judge for a George Washington University Law School contest where they had to propose different solutions to government problems. And in that, one of the teams was proposing a green solution, and they were talking about green buildings. And I remember thinking how much the world had changed from the time they began their proposal to the time they delivered it. And sadly, I saw less value in the green buildings as solutions because in the COVID environment, I've come to understand the value of green workspaces or green work arrangements. And I had to ask myself as this team was pitching their green solution, how much sense does it make for me to jump into my little Mustang, trek 90 minutes to work, to go to a green office building, work throughout the day, and then return home in that old Mustang another 90 minutes. That doesn't sound like a green solution, even though I would be working out of a green workspace. COVID has required a significant level of rethinking. Innovation does come out of crisis, and you all have been, again, exemplars of that. I know in Desert Storm, and I did not participate in DS1, I was in DS2, but in Desert Storm, many of us heard the news stories of soldiers who were dealing with the challenge of sand getting into the breathing systems, if you will, the breathing systems of large machinery and shutting them down or degrading their useful life. And the solution that the soldiers came up with was to cover some of the intake spaces with pantyhose. And that would allow the machines to still breathe and get the oxygen they needed for their internal combustion engines, but it kept the fine sand out of the machine. Well, I can tell you that that was a great example of innovation, and that innovation follows the spirit that I believe I've seen within DHS. We can achieve innovation when we empower our people. And the generals in Desert Storm did not create the pantyhose solution. The soldiers did. They were empowered. You have to believe as leaders that you can trust your workforce. And we will need that more as we deal with the challenges from pandemics to near-peer threats. We will need that as we deal with environmental challenges, all of which DHS is charged to face. Well, trusting your workforce is something that I know is in Soraya's leadership credo. And I've heard her say repeatedly, it is okay to make a mistake. I would paraphrase that and say, if I were to remark about Soraya's leadership approach, her ability to trust the workforce, I'd say it's okay to bet big for the mission and come up short. Bet big for the mission. So let me, as I mentioned mission and I mentioned your people, let me pay homage to your excellent theme today. Our people, our partners, our mission. As Soraya mentioned, we are embarking on a new phase in looking at our workforce. We call this Workforce 2025. The reason for this is that I want people to understand that the workforce will change more rapidly. The nature of work will change more rapidly. And Workforce 2025 calls for us to see that a complete change is necessary and probable and proper in a short 5-year sprint, and that changes will come more rapidly into the future. In the near future, already present, we are dealing with process automation tools. And those process automation tools, some people call robots, those process automation tools can help our workforce complete routine tasks with greater speed and greater accuracy. They will take the mundane work off of the plate of our professionals. Those process automation tools will make it so that we are less focused on having lean processes, because even with the most convoluted processes, our process automation tools will be able to complete those tasks very rapidly and with extreme accuracy. They will take those mundane tasks off of the workforce and free them to do the real work that we want contract specialists and contracting officers to perform. And that is making decisions, making good business decisions that enable their agency to complete their mission. Another piece of automation that will help us in that endeavor is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence will help us, will help assist in the decision making required to complete non-routine tasks. Again, as opposed to process automation tools that help us complete routine tasks with greater speed and accuracy, artificial intelligence, AI, helps us complete non-routine tasks. And it will do that by informing and advising the human decision maker. It will do that by harvesting data and creating the right information, putting at our fingertips the right information, those things that we need to think about when we make decisions in a complex and rapidly changing environment. This brave new world I speak of is one that will be here in 5 years or so. It's not one that Wooten is thrusting upon you. Again, it will be here in 5 years or so. And I want to make sure that I partner with smart leaders so that they can make sure that you're prepared to thrive in that environment, not just survive, and definitely not perish. I want you to thrive in an environment where you can leverage process automation tools, where you can hook up with artificial intelligence and be smarter and faster as you make business decisions. In that brave new world where I talk about automation, I talk about Workforce 2025. Automation is just a tool. The power is still with the individual person. The power is still with the team of people. And the power of leadership will be more important than it ever has been, in my view, because leadership is still necessary to speak to the human soul. And in an era of automation, people can tend to feel alienated. People can tend to feel that they are driven by machines and by data. And the importance of leadership, I believe, will come to a zenith. We can leave data to managers, but again, leaders must speak to the soul of humankind. Leaders will also need to figure out the most elegant way to task an empowered workforce to perform with an awesome set of tools. And I want to suggest that we should begin the practice of engaging in constructive performance dialogue. And by the performance dialogue, I simply mean you set expectations, and that is a two-way conversation. By the performance dialogue, I also mean that you discuss the appropriate level of supervision. And I would be glad at some point to share more broadly what I mean by discussing appropriate level of supervision. But as a short example, I mean you don't want to have situations where the employee is saying, my boss micromanages me, and where the boss is saying, I wish the employee took more initiative. You want to be able to talk about the appropriate level of supervision. And this is how we are going to win with Workforce 2025. Looking at our partners, I wanted to call out two exemplars that are coming from the Department of Homeland Security. First, the Procurement Innovation Lab. They have helped you establish leadership, not only in terms of building the schools of the future, but also as a means for securing strong government partnerships. Other agencies know that they can rely on the leadership of DHS. And I'm profoundly grateful as the administrator that this tool is available, that this tool has emerged from the innovation of people. Procurement, your procurement and acquisition innovation response, or PAIR team, is an exemplar of partnering with industry. So I wanted to call out your leadership in working with your partners because, after all, that is your theme, our people, our partners, and our mission. Looking into our mission, there are a couple of tools that I wanted to call out as well. I'm excited to see how the CSAW, or Civilian Service Acquisition Workshop, has emerged. The CSAW is an outgrowth of the SAW, and I remember in my days at Defense Acquisition University getting a chance to participate in service acquisition workshops in the Department of Defense. Well, CSAW has come much farther along than those old days where we created SAW and we supported SAW by using Microsoft Access to cobble together phrases that were constructed of nouns and verbs. CSAW truly helps form an acquisition team and put them through the procurement life cycle. Another important tool I wanted to discuss just briefly is the government commercial purchase card. I'm pleased to report that OFPP is supporting a legislative proposal to increase the micro-purchase threshold in response to what your leadership has asked, in response to the need to respond rapidly to COVID and give your contracting officers, your warranty contracting officers, a tool where they can get to the large amount of equipment, things that are very clearly, and I'm going to search for the word here, but I don't want to say codified, but I just did. But things that are very clearly determined, not services where you have to shape a statement of work, but with equipment where you have a part number or something that can identify the discrete requirement. And in those cases, the government commercial purchase card is the right vehicle. Again, for warranted contracting officers. I'm also looking to advance a parallel initiative using existing authorities under FAR 13.301 Bravo. Again, using existing authorities under FAR 13.301 Bravo. And I think the acquisition leadership, the federal acquisition leadership has heard me harp on that for a while, and now I'm ready to press go. The existing authorities allow the contracting officer to use the the government purchase card, outside of micro purchase procedures. And we'll put out guidance on that. But that existing authority has been around for decades. And as an operator, many years ago, I used the purchase card outside of the micro purchase procedures using the existing authorities of FAR 13.301 Bravo. So, because I am a recovering politician, so to speak, I made sure I had a very large clock in the window so that I could wind down and not talk on and respect the time that you have given me and turn things back over to you. But I do want to say this. I did not begin my remarks by saying in these unprecedented times. Let me confess this. I do not like to hear people say in these unprecedented times. Certainly these times are unprecedented. They're unparalleled, they are unequaled, and they are unique. But the Department of Homeland Security was born of unprecedented times. You were born out of the ashes of the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. You were born to resolve these unprecedented times following 9/11, and you were born to resolve these unprecedented times today. You will resolve unprecedented challenges in the future. Today, our fellow Americans have a renewed appreciation for those public servants who protect us as first responders. Indeed, they are heroes, but let us take pride in recognizing the Department of Homeland Security in its entirety during a critical moment of a generation in this fight against COVID. I share your pride in the daily life-saving work of our first responders, but at this moment, I want to thank all of you, the team that gears the heroes up for the fight. Today, I want to shine a light on your work, which would normally remain in the shadows. You orchestrate the resources, the rules, the tools, and the schools that our heroes need to serve our fellow Americans. You find and deliver the resources that our heroes need to meet their charge to relieve suffering and to keep harm at bay. You solve problems by considering the art of the possible when America faces grave challenges. You contribute mightily to your colleagues' efforts to do these things, and it has been my honor to address you today. Today, America stands a bit taller because of our first responders, our heroes. Today, our heroes stand a little longer because of you. Thank you.
Sir, thank you for those kind and inspirational words, words that show the regard and the respect that you have for our community. And thank you for your leadership, your support, and your service. We're honored to have you this morning, and we are honored to have you as our Administrator of the Office of Federal Procurement Policy. Again, thank you very much.